Well, for those of you who today is a day that you honor as Sabbath, Shabbat Shalom. For those who don't, Todah Rabah for being here. Boker Tov, Yom Tov, Zarim Tovim, and Laila Tov. Glad that you guys could join us today. I'm just waiting for Brandon to pop on, and hopefully he'll be on here. Hold on just a second. It looks like he's in the message. Oh, okay. So I need to send him the link. So give me just a second while I pop on to Facebook real quickly to send Brandon the link, because that which I sent him isn't working. Technical difficulties, but that's all right. That's not a problem because we can totally figure that out. I do need to ask if you guys, if you're hearing me okay, simply because I have the fan running right now. It's very hot here. And I need to have the fan running or else it's going to chase me out of the bedroom way too quickly. It's been extremely warm. It's been incredibly muggy. Yesterday we were up at 100 degrees, and Ken and I have been in the heat way too much this week. That's why we're not doing the Zoom session, because the house is just too dang hot. We are going to be trying to get into some cooler spaces, but I did want to join this morning with Brandon because we had some things that we wanted to talk about today. Before he gets on, I will say that it's nice seeing you guys on here. Dean, I'm happy to have you on here. And Greg, I see you here. Missed you last week. I think you were in Sedona. Hope that went well. Oh, send it to my email. Okay. One more moment. That gives everybody a chance to join us. So give me a second here while I go to Brandon's email to send him the link. I'm hoping that your morning has gone well. I had some good things that I was triggered on this morning, so it's been a really good day for me to start to reflect upon some things that I'm dealing with. And I always like to be transparent when I'm sharing, because I like to just make a safe place to know that I am definitely still in process myself, and I've never claimed to say that I'm telling you something or something is the way it is, because we're all struggling, we're all growing, we're all maturing, and we have similarities with each other, but we still have each individual wrestles that we're dealing with. So it looks like Brandon's on. Let me add him to the mix. Good morning, Brandon.
What's up? There we go.
I know. Sorry about that. That was a bummer, but we're only 4 minutes into the stream, so it's okay.
No, that's totally good. Yeah, when I tried the messenger, I have to use Carrie since I'm on my iPhone, and
Okay.
it automatically uses Google as default. So it was telling me you need to switch your browser, but it wouldn't let me switch my browser. So I was like, send it to my email because I can do it that way.
Well, I'll make sure that I do that next time. But wonderful people that are joining us, to have you guys here. I was just sharing that I had a good trigger this morning, and so I'm working through processing some of that and all the internals when a trigger comes up, and we're just in that season right now. So it was an
Yeah.
issue with rejection, which kind of back to some childhood wounds, and things that you think that you have overcome, but then they've got little tentacles that kind of get put through your body in different emotional responses, and then when you get triggered, it's trying to figure out where it comes from. And part of it is just being unfairly judged. When we say something or think that we know something about someone or something, instead of actually going in and asking questions to seek clarity and then having it be a definitive answer, it's really hard on the heart. And if I still wasn't dealing with ego, right, it really wouldn't matter. I could easily just say, take a hike. But really, that's not my heart, because I don't want to reject anyone, and I certainly don't want to be rejected. I just want to have clarity, so that we can see each other right, and it's good perspective and understanding that we're still all in process.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually pretty good that we that you bring that up, because me and you were talking yesterday, and I've been getting a lot of messages from people about that. It's, I guess, you know, one, we tend to compare our journeys. People are always comparing against other people and where they're at, and judging where they're on the right track or whatever based on other people. And so you can have people that are on these like super spiritual highs and appear to be like that all the time, but that's actually not good to be on
Right.
that spirit. Not to say you don't want to go up on top of the mountain, gather that
Oh, right.
light,
Mm-hmm.
get oil for your lamp. But like me and you
Mm-hmm.
were talking yesterday, the reason we do that is so that we can go into those triggers, into those shadow, do shine that light into the darkness. You know what I'm saying? And
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Exactly.
yeah, it was so encouraging talking with you yesterday about that, because I shared my QHHT experience and was on like a super high from that, and then went like whoop, and then I started being like, man, like what's going on here, and we got to work through that. And I don't know, if I can say something on
Yeah.
here, I know me and you've talked about it, is, in this construct and third density in the flesh, that's where the ego is. And I know people might not want to hear about this, but it ties into like the Hopi and the purification and everything. And when we become enlightened, or we awaken, whatever language anyone wants to use, we feel like we have to go out and change the world, like,
Right. Right.
but really with the raw law of one material and stuff, is doing your work, your inner work, is the
Mm-hmm.
work that you need to be doing. That is service to others. Whereas the ego says, no, if I go out and impose and I convert and everything like that, that's really helping them, but that's really not. That's really service to self. That's really the negative polarity of the things. The creator the creator is going to take care of this flesh. The creator is what's going to take care of the transformational process as a whole and totality. We my job, and we talk about things and share, but is to cleanse my temple, so to speak. It's to cleanse, and in that I am actually in service to the whole collective.
Exactly. Exactly. And that is an important thing to bring forward, because I know that it's your heart and it's my heart that when we share things, that it's just coming from a place of sharing of where we are in the sum total of our journey to this point. Right?
Yeah.
You and I don't have a heart to declare something and say, nope, this is it. This is exactly what's going on. You got to do it this way or else. It's not that. We just like to talk about these things with one another, and bring you in the conversation, because we know that we're all trying to wrestle with this. And
Yeah.
and part of my personal challenges is taking what was given to us as the book to navigate this world, right? The Bible, that we were given this as an instruction manual. And in our naivete, in our, um, I have, I'm trying to be careful of the words that I'm saying, just because so many
Yeah.
times things that I say are misconstrued.
Yeah.
So, but I am going to say this, and if it does prick somebody, then that's probably some shadow work that you may need to do, because I've had to go through this. So, in our state of immaturity, we have looked externally for answers, and we were given the Bible. And I had shared yesterday that the
What's up,
Bible
man?
in the English narrative is more like the old manna. It's not the fresh manna, because just of what you just shared about the negative polarity and the positive polarity in the system of duality, right? Service to self or service to others. A lot of what we were seeing in the English narrative was very directed. You need to go disciple the nations. You need to go and convert everyone else, because this is the way and this is the truth and this is the life. And all of these things that have caused us to go down a path. And now we're getting to a place where we've realized that some of that manna that we were ingesting was not getting us to where we felt spiritually we needed to move into. There
Mm-hmm.
was something that was holding us back. There was something that was stopping us. And a lot of these stories and narratives that we see within the book cover from Genesis to Revelation has really been more about kind of controlling the narrative and getting us in a flow that was maybe appropriate in times past in the 1500s. And again, I'm talking about linear time, which doesn't really exist, but for a sake of reference point, the Bible was produced for mass consumption in the 1500s. And now in the linear timeline, we see ourselves in the year 2021. And much has changed since then. Much has changed. We have
Yeah.
changed. Our communities have changed. The way we live, the way we eat, the way we breathe, the things that we do things. I mean, everything's changed. So why wouldn't the sacred writings be revealed to bring us something new for where we're entering into right now?
Yeah. Exactly.
That's just a question I'm presenting, because if the Bible that was given to us in the English narrative was the end all be all, this world would be a completely different place than what we are seeing it as today.
I agree.
And we
I
would
agree
have much
totally.
more healing, transformation that would be happening internally, but it was all projected externally instead of it bringing it on the inside. And I do want to
Yeah.
clarify one thing, and then I'll open it up to you to share, because this is stuff because of me being triggered this morning that I'm just like sorting through on the inside of me. And I'm going to speak for myself here, because I'm not going to speak for my husband, because we're our own sovereigns that have come together, and he can share what he needs to share. I'm going to share what I'm going to share. And they are very similar to one another, but our perspectives are just a little different. We're more closer than we are not, but he sees from a different perspective than I do. And of course it would be that way, right? Because
Right.
we're two individuals. His journey has been different than mine. Although we've been together for the last 11 years, we still see different. Our vehicles are different. But when I speak of oneness unity, I am not speaking of the new age concept that everything is hunky-dory, rainbows, cotton candy, fluffy puppy kitty, everything's just beauty, and there is no evil. That's the furthest thing from it, because I've had people consider that the things that I am saying is about what is new age. Now, when I say oneness, it's in the accompaniment of everything that is encapsulated in the letter Aleph. I just say oneness because it's a summary of the letter Aleph. So when I
Mm-hmm.
say it, I know what I'm saying. So the danger that comes in is when we assume that because of vernacular that people are using, that they're automatically in a camp that they may not be.
Right.
And so seeking clarity is huge. My husband had an interaction with somebody last week, and I just loved it. I loved what he came home and shared, because this gentleman was talking to him, and Ken kept trying to have him help define his words, meaning if he said a certain word, then Ken would seek clarity. Well, what do you mean by that word? And then he would say something else, and Ken would say, and drill down, what do you mean by that word? Because sometimes we've been indoctrinated to say certain words or hear certain words, and we already have a preconceived notion of what that person is saying or what we're saying, but we may even not even have a clue as to what we're saying. We're just
Right.
using
Yeah.
words to try to connect, right? Hey,
Mm-hmm.
if we kind of connect on the same page, our egos feel good, so we can socialize together. But really, if we are going to bring forth healing and wholeness on the inside, because to me, oneness means healing and wholeness on the inside, no longer fractured parts, but all integrated into oneness on the inside, so that we can have that kind of a relationship with one another. And that takes a
Mm-hmm.
lot of freaking hard ass work. A
Yeah, it
lot.
does.
It's not something that just happens because you read it in a book. That means every time you get triggered, you go into those deep, dark places to see where it came from. And it's frankly really super uncomfortable. And it
Yep.
sucks. It is not fun by any means. So that's why I don't want people to think that what we are sharing is all fluffy rainbow stuff, because it's not. The more you spend time in the language, the more that darkness that is in you is going to be revealed. And I put that out there as a warning. If you do not want healing, if you have too much fear and you don't want to see the shadow in you that's really wanting your attention, then don't ever get into the language.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's meant to. It's light and love that supports you in the process of healing on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a journey for the brave. I've said that before. You know, the brave ones are the ones that are willing to go in on the inside and work those things out so that you can be whole and healed and not fractured anymore.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. I just wanted to clarify that. I just wanted to bring clarity to it. I
No,
needed to
I,
hear that.
I definitely appreciate your words, and have definitely been pulling that part and been guilty of it and not explaining it, because the whole, like, I was going through it but not really understanding what it was, but the whole shadow work in the dark, and I am and bringing those two as whole, and that I'm take the light and have those bliss, joy, mountaintop moments, so that I can gather oil for my lamp to go into my dark areas and expose things that need to be exposed and
Yep.
heal wounds and all that. You know, so when we say oneness, like, do I believe oneness as in like Allah, that there is only one being and we are all fractals of that? Yes, of course. But the kicker is that we are all fractured ourselves. So just like you said that, I've had a conversation this morning with a friend just on that, because the ego, once we learn some things, the ego instantly wants to say, okay, I need to externalize it. Now I need
Yeah.
to go out external of myself into the world and recruit others to believe like I do, so I feel good about the way I'm believing. But all of it, the whole story and everything, is about becoming whole, complete, and one within yourself. You know, if you want to accelerate, Ra talks about the different dimensions, and you know, all the way up to eighth density, which is the end of one octave and beginning of another,
Mm-hmm.
and whole and complete with Creator. If you want that, and that's your goal to get back in it, it's not going to be by us recruiting people externally. It's not going to be from us trying to stop. And I'm not saying, because people take this is another touchy area. I'm not saying that we got to stop all the wars and what's going on in the governmental systems and stuff. Which, interesting on that, you know, the Hopi, you know, they went out in the 70s, 80s, and 90s as spiritual leaders, the United Nations and everything, to talk about them. But the Hopi says that we are actually have surpassed this kind of line in the sand, so to speak, call it the point of no return, where we've kind of gone into with what's going to play out in PD is what's going to play out. And it's basically the corruption has come to a certain level where we're not going to change that. We, you know, it doesn't matter if we all stood up and marched Washington. It doesn't matter if the whole world rebelled against it. But the thing is that probably is unlikely. Point being to it is, the greatest thing that we can do for humanity is going within ourselves, is cleansing our temple, is ridding ourselves, shining the light of the darkness, and becoming whole, one, and complete within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That is the best thing that we can do. It's not just sitting aside and putting up your hands and saying I'm not doing anything, but that's doing stuff in the spiritual realm that you can't even see. You know, you don't even know what's going on when you do that. Most of us don't, you know.
Yeah, and it is the hardest work. I mean, it truly is the hardest work. And
Yeah.
a lot of it is because it's so emotional, you know, and we have been so detached from our emotions for such a long time, you know, because we were taught that we, maybe especially with men, you know, you can't display emotions, you can't have tears, you have to buck it up, you got to suck it up, you're not a real man if you don't. And the whole thing is about the heart. It's all about the heart, and it's about the
Yeah.
softening of it and in the expansion of it, because that's where the true beauty is. And that oneness, unity, it's unconditional love for yourself. It's unconditional love for yourself that then manifests externally. You know,
Right.
I know that all of that negative stuff is going on. I don't need to partake in those scenarios anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not choosing sides anymore. I did that for many years, and it was so, well, I'm not going to say it was futile. I learned a tremendous mount from it. And I'm not going to say, well, that was crappy and I sucked. I wish I would have known this sooner. No, I don't wish that I would have known any of this sooner, because the things that I found out and that were revealed to me through spirit were right on time.
Yeah.
You know, the whole awakening process, it was right on time. It was my time for me and my spiritual growth. And when you woke up 2017, that was your time. Everybody experienced it. I
Yeah.
have a beautiful friend that lives in Central Oregon, and I was able to see her while we were over there. And, you know, stuff that I had learned many, many moons ago, she had her wake up call literally in 2020 with everything that had gone around that we had seen in the external orientation of our world. And so she was asking questions like, did you know this? Did you know this? And what about? And so she's, you know, I was kind of chuckling on the inside because I knew right where she was at. I knew the
Yeah.
wrestle that she was in. And this is what you and I were talking about last night. Yesterday was the three TOVs, the triple TOVs, the three tiered awakening process. You know, mother is the one that is teaching you how to orient yourself externally so that you can see duality. Hey, look,
Yeah.
there is good and there is evil, but there's something way past that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then the father's talk, the father's covenant takes you on the inside. Hey, look, you got good and evil on the inside and you're warring. So it's time to go on the inside. And then
Yeah.
by the time you get to the final mark on the center of your being right here is when you let go of it all. This is the 0 point. This is when Ken has shared in teachings in the past. We have so much stuff on our YouTube page. I'm backing off on producing videos for a while because there's so much information that if people want to catch up or see what's going on, go check out the 500 plus videos we have. It's not sustainable for me to put a video out every day just to, you know, try to bring some fresh manna when we should be digging our own manna out. But anyway,
Right.
Ken was talking about the word like becoming nothing, to be non-existent. And so even in the narrative, when we read that Enoch was and then he was not, and we're like, what the heck happened to him? That doesn't, that, you know, what happened? Well, when you go in and if you look in the language, it's the word ayin, aleph yod nun, nun vav. And they're not fallen, they're risen noons. There's nothing fallen about it at all. It's becoming in the place of absolute nothingness where you empty everything out, that you are given new flesh and you've connected in the place of meekness, having power under control, and you find the way out of the matrix.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like the rainbow body that the Tibetan monks talk about. People that ascend out of their body and they don't ever experience death.
Yeah.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
process. And it's understanding the oneness that gives you the power to deal with the denser flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Because the denser flesh is all of the unresolved issues. It's all that stuff that's trapped in the lower issues, our wounds and our survival mode. We've all been stuck on survival mode for so long.
Yes.
It makes the physical flesh sick because you
Mm-hmm.
never get into that rest and digest area in your body. You're always in fight or flight. And that is what all of these stories and narratives are doing, including some of the English translations that we see in the Bible. It's all about fight or flight. You got to, you know, good over evil. We got to crush all the evil. We got to do this, you know, and then be afraid of the demons and be afraid of the devil and be afraid of Satan. And it's like you never get out of that.
Yeah.
Am I good enough? Am I doing enough? Why is there evil?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I see. You know, we talked about this last night. Is you know, there are people out here, they're battling devils and demons and everything. So I'm not saying that's real, because there's multi dimensions, multi realities all going on right now within this reality and dimension. So some people are doing that, but
Yeah.
we're called, and once you, and it's not a boast thing or whatever, but once you come into this and you start doing the internal work, you start noticing you're like rising above these layers and everything, so that in this reality of flying, you know, flying high on the wings of eagles, you're not battling demons and devils and everything anymore. You understand it. Now in this matrix, it's designed that way to try to suck you back in. It is going to try to find any and everything it can to test you in that way of trying to pull you right back into the narratives, trying to pull you
Right.
back in the game. And to me, this is where Jesus would say, be in the world, but not of the world. So we're in the matrix, but we understand the matrix. We understand the games that are being played, and we're choosing not to participate. And for those that choose not to participate, they're going to be condemned, ridiculed, mocked, laughed at, cussed out, whatever, by those that are participating, because those that are in it can't see it. They
Right.
don't, they can't even, they don't even know that they're stooped in it. And it's not good, it's not bad, it's like it is. All of us are going to come into oneness, unity. All of us are coming to be back into source creator and out of all of these systems, but in due time. Some of us, not every plant out here in the wild blossoms and blooms at the same time. Some
No, they
bloom
don't.
later than others, and that's
Mhm.
kind of how I see it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And and it's even something even greater than us connecting in oneness. It's us becoming in oneness and harmony with the earth, right?
Yeah,
We've been so out of tune with the earth and what's going on. I mean, if we had been in tune with earth in its ascension process back in 2012, we would be much further along, but we've been so detached. We've been
yeah,
so
yeah,
incredibly detached. I mean, we're spending time in buildings, we're spending time on the internet, we're not grounding like we should, we're not spending time in nature. And now I'm broad sorting because there's many that do, and I'm not saying that by and large that we're all not. So please, there are people that are doing that, and it's very important for us to get in tune with that, because look at how much different we would be treating the world. And again, I'm not in the narrative of what is in the mainstream news about this and that and what things they're trying to put in with carbon emissions. I'm not even going there. What I'm saying is there's a vibrational frequency that we are in tune with the earth and with one another as energy that we should be tapping into. And we've been so
hmm
separated from it in our concrete jungles and
yeah,
our rubber shoes and everything. We're so out of tune and out of step.
yeah. I think this would be if unless you have something further you want to say on this, would be kind of a good segue then to lead into what we'd like to talk about, or what I'd like for us to know about from the point of view of the languages of
Yeah.
the fall. Because so many people, there's so much on YouTube land out there, and the earth is evil, the earth is run by Satan, and you need to escape, and aliens are going to come take you away, and the earth's got to be destroyed because it's a prison. And on some certain levels of degrees of reality, that's all true. That there's truth in those things. But I'm interested in you sharing what you've dug out of the languages in regards to the fall of mankind and all that. what
Sure.
what can we glean from that?
Sure. And part of, just to finish up what you're saying, if I can share this comment too, is we created all of this.
Yes,
We created
yes.
the prison planet. We created all the stories, all the narratives, all the scenarios. We did this. So this is not, anything that you have heard or anything that you think is going to happen. We have all created that to come to pass, to be part of the experience. And that is why you and I are having these conversations, is like, where are we then being accountable for what we've done so that we
hmm
can rise up and out of these scenarios? Because really, we've trapped ourselves.
hmm that's right.
We've trapped ourselves in these stories, in these narratives. And yes, we will be able to extract much wisdom out of it, but we did it. So that's why going in is so important. So, what
hmm
I want to share with you, I'm just, by the way, I'm just really happy everybody that I'm seeing in the discussions, the stream, the people that are here with us today. Thank you guys for being here. I know I've made little comments, but I'm really happy. I'm not going to do a shout out to all of you, but I am so happy that you guys are here and that you're wanting
Yeah.
to sit in with Brandon and I. That means a lot. And I am reading some comments. And if you do have questions, make sure to put them all in caps, because we don't want to miss that as we're discussing, because what you have to bring is important as well. This isn't the Brandon and Carrie show. My gosh, we're having a conversation and we're just sharing it with you guys. So
That's right.
we're not trying to build a platform. We don't want a platform. We're just working through our stuff together and doing it so that we're helping and assisting one another while we're going through our own crap.
That's right. Exactly right.
I mean, it's the truth. So, in a segue to move to the fall, and I need to share this as well too, because when Brandon and I discuss things, we try to be a bridge builder. Brandon's more of a bridge builder than I am, in certain ways. It's my heart, but Ken and I have been in the sacred languages for over 6 years now, and so we pulled way out over here, and yet we want to be able to build a bridge for other people to cross into as they're exodusing out of these narratives, right? So I want to explain something else about some of the things that I've been posting. So when I post something and I use the word church, or I use the word the fall, I had somebody ask me about, oh, I thought you didn't like the lesser narratives, and because I used the word the fall. And I said, but that's the only thing that I can use for someone to understand what we're going to be addressing and unpacking based on something that they know from the narrative that they are used to.
Right.
It doesn't mean that we're going and we're hammering down and solidifying this was a fall of humanity and it was because Eve ate the apple and whatever, or Genesis 6 and the giants were in land. That is not what we're doing. We are unpacking stuff so we can divorce ourselves from all those narratives, because that's story time.
Right.
That's story time for children to learn lessons. We are moved past that. As we grow up and we mature, we put away the childish things because we're coming into something greater, because we don't want to get stuck there anymore. We're untethering and unraveling from all that. So I just want to bring clarity that when we discuss the fall, I'm looking at the words. I'm looking at the letters. I'm looking at the definitions, and I really don't care what it says. Now, we can discuss the narrative, but that's not why I'm sharing it. And it's just information. That's it. Take it, leave it, flush it. Doesn't matter to me.
Right.
But I'm hoping it has some good conversation that we can come out of this, because again, if we can't apply this to ourselves, if there's no application, then I just need to shut the hell up. Because why? You need somebody else to flap in your ear about something else to tickle your ear? Or do we want some practical information so that we can shift and get rid of these narratives that are holding us back?
And that's really what we're both interested in, because the one thing I've been coming into is the mercy and grace of the Creator, as us being little fragments of the Creator, is as long as we want to play story time and have imagination land, He'll let us. The Creator will let. That would be, to me, where that they're in the lake of fire forever and ever, just from age to age. As long as you want to make believe and play story time and have your good and evil and you're dueling and you're battling and all that, the Creator will let you do that for as long as you want. Like the prodigal son. I know we don't like tying narratives, but that prodigal son, that prodigal son stayed out there in the pig pen, and he did his whole thing for as long as he wanted, until the prodigal son woke up and realized and was like, I don't want to play this game anymore.
Exactly.
I don't want to do it. And that's all we're trying to do for those people that do not want to play the game anymore. And that's why I love Carrie and what she does, and she's helping me to be able to build bridge, because that's what I want to do. Like she said, build bridges between the westernized Christian community and the languages and native people and just whoever. But I'm that bridge builder saying, hey, come over to this side, dude. It's a lot better.
Well, yeah. And yes, it is a lot better, but it's also is difficult because you do a lot of wrestling on the inside. Because that's the whole thing. It's no longer the external orientation. I mean, we've battled it out enough with each other. We've duked it out with each other for long enough that we're tired of beating each other up. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm so done with that. I'm so tired of beating each other up. It's like, this is just pointless.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a punching bag, and I don't want you to be my punching bag, because if I'm hitting you, I'm hitting me. And it's not worth it anymore. There's something greater for us to really grasp a hold of. So having said that, I want to take a look at the word nafal. Nafal is the word that means the fall or to fall. And it's a noon and a pay and a lamed. Now, I know that there's many people that are on here that have no idea about the sacred languages. They don't know a noon from a lamed, but some of you have been here long enough that you're beginning to see the letters. And I'm hoping that some of you will do your due diligence and at least learn to memorize the shapes of the letters. And so when I say noon, you know what I'm talking about. If I say lamed, you know what I'm talking about. So that when I flash words up on the screen, you can take a look at that and see the progression of the letters. There is a lot to learn. There is a lot to learn. It looks like I'm having some issues with internet, so I'm probably cutting in and out. Oh, looks like I'm back good. There is a lot to learn. But if we can get on the same page with looking at the letters, it'll be able to solidify it a little bit more within to see what it's saying to us, because they're speaking. The letters, because of their frequency nature, are speaking to us. This information is coming in for inward formation. So when we look at the word nafal, I'm going to pull up my document here and we can take a look at it, because I prepared this last week, and Spirit had other things for us to do last week, which was awesome. I'm really happy about that. It was great. Let me see.
Yeah, it really was.
It was awesome. Okay, now let me see if it'll show. Yep, there it is. Okay, here's my document. Here's the noon pay lamed that I was telling you guys about. And it means to fall in a great variety of applications, intransitive, causative, literal, or figurative. And when we go into the Klein's etymology book, it's the big red book. You guys have seen me. I left my books at the other house we're house sitting for, so I don't have them with me, or else I would show it to you. It has the meaning to fall. He fell down, was prostrate, was cast down. It happened, it occurred, turned out, and resulted. So what is going on here? Well, if you take a look at the letters, we need to talk about the noon. And I'm not going to break down verses, but I am going to take a little bit of time to explain the letters, because this will make more sense to us to understand what this means to us in what the fall was. Because in reality, we didn't fall. We experienced. Because if we're automatically thinking that we fell, yeah, have we done some crazy stuff? Yes. Have we put ourselves on lockdown? Yes. Have we created scenarios and rogue aliens? Yes. Have we done all of that? And yes. Could it be considered as a lesser narrative and a lower narrative and lower frequency and lower natures? You bet it is. Absolutely. And if you need to see it that way, that's fine. I'm looking for the resolve. I always want the resolve, because I want to see how we can fix that which is within us to bring healing within the heart. So the resolve in this, noon pay lamed. Noon, the letter noon is spelled with 3 letters. Every Hebrew Aramaic symbol is created by symbols. They combine their frequencies together to create one symbol that has a greater magnitude of the resonance frequency within each letter, because it tells a story, right? So there's the English narrative that is story time as we are trying to grow up in our spirituality. And when you dig in the sacred languages, it's a more mature story, because it goes deeper, farther, wider, higher, lower. It just blows up all the boxes. Gets you to think deeper and go inside and dig deep. So when we look at these letters, part of this is to propagate and to increase. And it also has a meaning for fish. And I love it that it goes from Hebrew as a noon, vav, fallen noon, a risen noon, a vav, and a fallen noon, to in the Aramaic having the aleph added. Why is that so important? Because aleph is oneness, unity. Oneness, unity is healing on the inside, connecting higher and lower together in the central being, right here, right now, as you, as being. Here, now, healed, whole. Oneness. Mashiach, Christ anointing. So we've got a word that means to propagate, to increase, to re-sprout, to propagate by shoots, to be perpetual. Why am I spending so much time on the noon? Because it's a mirror. When you look at the letters themselves, you see that there's a risen one, which is talking about, this is like the activity of what we do in life, our activity in our daily doings, the spiritual path or the material path. What are we doing? Or you could say the spiritual path that then takes a look at something that has fallen here to reflect that which is fallen in you so that you can connect to it in your heart, your higher self and your lower self. But everything is a mirror. Everything that is around you is going to tell you exactly what you need to spiritually mature and grow if you can see it. But it's meant for you to connect in your heart, both, so that you can be perpetual, to have perpetuity. The noon also means in Paleo Hebrew to about having a strong base to stand upon. So think about like a sprouting seed. So the seed comes out of the ground. It has to have a really strong base. Have you ever taken a really good close look at sunflowers? About how amazing they are? Have you ever seen how thick the stalks are and then get down to the root to support the weight of the head? They just fascinate me. And they come out and they're just a little tiny seed. Well, the letter noon is about that. It's about the strong base for you to stand upon. And it also means to produce an heir. So what are we doing in perpetuity that we are bringing forth that is going to go and proceed on after us? What are we doing in our now? Is that making any sense? You guys connecting there? Does that make sense, Brandon? Are you there? Am I talking to myself? Oh, I guess I'm talking to myself. Brandon got kicked off. Hey, Brandon, good to see you again. Did you get kicked off? Did I kick you off? What happened?
No, I don't know. There was a little glitch or something. So I heard most of what you said, but not everything. I was just waiting for you to get me back on. Internet, man. It's all good.
Okay. I'm sitting there talking and I'm like, oh, is anybody hearing me? Because really, I don't want to talk to hear myself. I do that all the time in my own head. So the point that I was trying to make with this letter noon is that it's really important to see that it's a mirror. This letter noon has so much information in it to see what's going on. And that's the first letter for the word that means to fall.
Wow.
But it's a risen noon. And so that has to do with a spiritual path. It has to do with our higher nature of who we are in moving forward. Because if everything is happening in real time now, and there's an ascended part of us, and we're living right now, we're experiencing this. It's connecting to that and striving forward. It's like the spiritual gravity that is always pulling us in the direction to grow up and mature. Then we get to the letter pay. I'm going to go back into the document again now because I can't really do anything on the screen. I don't think I can. No, I can't do anything. So I got to go back into the document so I can highlight the letter. So give me just a second here. And then I'm just giving some information and then we're going to just talk about it. Okay. So that's all we're doing. Just have to hit the right buttons in order to do it. That's helpful. Yeah. So the pay, when we talk about the pay, so again, think about everything that I just shared about the noon. And then let's take a look at what it means with the, why is this having such a, it's not even wanting me to go in and do this now. That's a big fat bummer.
I'm telling you, the internet's been a little glitchy for me the past few days.
Well, it usually will let me share, and I just don't know why it's not letting me share. Well, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to talk about it then. I don't need to. Most people don't know the letters anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So the pay has to do with the mouth that speaks revelation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have an upper lip and you have a lower lip, and it opens and it speaks. It's spelled pei or pei aleph. So the mouth that brings forth the spirit breath, the exhale and the inhale, the revelation of oneness, which incorporates, when you have the aleph, one who teaches as one who has been taught, one who has been yoked and tamed, one that has the rod of authority because they have become a master. That's what that rod authority is about, is becoming a master of the self so that you can assist others. And then you speak forth revelation to bring forth the oneness unity, to bring forth healing in here, healing all the wounds. So we went from a noon to a pei, and then the last letter is lamed. And the lamed is the staff of authority, the rod of authority. Those who have studied, those who have learned, those who have become, those who have put together, assembled, that have been instructed, that have the authority to be able to teach because they've become it. You can't A shepherd that guides the sheep in the real world, they know what they're doing or they're going to lose sheep, right?
Right.
They know how to guard, they know how to protect, they know how to lead, and they lead from behind. They're constantly scanning that which those sheep cannot do, that don't know that there's dangers out there. And it's for a season and a time.
Mm-hmm.
So when we take a look at that as a spiritual shepherd, now again, I'm using words as a bridge. I'm not by any means trying to go back into religion. I'm trying to release us from that. That's what I've had to do. So one who has a rod of authority is only in a season of life with somebody to help them until that person then has their own rod of authority. They no longer need to have a teaching shepherd because they became that which was being taught.
Yeah.
And the message is healing and wholeness, because that lamed also means to incite, to goad, to urge, to prick, to sting.
Mm.
So in other words, if we have somebody that is coming in our realm and we're helping them and they're asking for assistance, not that we're coming in and we're saying, hey, you need me to teach you. Wrong answer. But if they're actually coming to you because they see something and they need a little bit of help, it is not going to do us any good to stroke them where they are in their pain and their suffering.
Yeah. I agree.
So there will be some stinging and some poking and some prodding and some urging, because we're trying to break away from all the habits and patterns. This book I'm reading right now is so good about breaking the habit of being you, trying to change new neuroplasticity to get out of the habits of the things that we're doing that are holding us back so we can create a whole different reality in where we're at. So a shepherd that has a rod of authority is going to goad and sting and urge you on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you choose to leave, that is your choice. They don't leave. They've already arrived. They're where they're at.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's through our experiences as well. I mean, that's the only way any of it can become real, you know. And a lot of people today, I'm not saying anybody on here, but in Western culture mainly, you know, they don't want the experience, they want the end result. You know, they don't want to go through the process of what it takes. So that's, you got people going and doing ayahuasca, not saying
Mm-hmm.
it's good, bad, right, wrong, whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
you got them doing all these medicines to get that end result. But they get to that end result, but they have none of the experience that was supposed to come along with it. So they have no idea what to do with what they now have. They have no idea what to do with it because there's no experience. So you can't lead and guide somebody. A shepherd, I mean, they're taught to be shepherds from a young boy, from a young man, on how to shepherd sheep. So through
Yes.
experience, they learn how to shepherd and be a good shepherd and watch over the sheep. You can't. That experience is all part of it. It's all part of the journey, even though it might suck, and sometimes it's part of it.
Sometimes.
Mm. Hey,
A lot of time. Oh.
there's some good moments in there every
Oh,
now and then.
there is. I'm just laughing because the last bit of like my personal journey, there's been a lot. There's just been a lot that has come up that they had no idea was buried. And you know, and honestly, regarding what you just said about the shepherding and everything, we're to lead ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So an external shepherd is only supposed to be there for a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And if we continue to cling on to an external shepherd, you develop an attachment.
Yeah.
And then when that shepherd is gone, you don't know what to do, which means that shepherd never really did their job correctly to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I get this picture in my head about like a bird that's in a nest and it's got its chicks in there with it. It's got its babies, you know, and for a time period, it's sitting on the eggs, it's doing everything it needs to. When the babies hatch, you know, it's got to feed them and the babies are squawking all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, they get pushed out of the nest.
That's right.
Because they're meant to fly. So if we are creating If somebody has asked us to be a teaching shepherd and it's creating attachment, that individual is never going to be able to fly, and you just crippled them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because
Yep.
wholeness and healing is sovereignty. And this is something my husband and I talk about regularly. He talks about a lot in our conversations about standing standing in your sovereign shoes, being able to lead yourself, having the rod of authority over yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it should never be about collecting people. It's the wrong motive.
Yeah. That to me is like the perfect example, even in the English narrative, why Jesus would say, it's better that I leave, because he knew that if he stayed, no one was going to get kicked out of the nest, so to speak. No one was going to learn to fly. They were just going to look to him, and that's not what he wanted for us. And I know I've talked with you and expressed my interest in getting real deep into Yeshua and all of that stuff, but it's like I wrote in my post, you'll only have a need for an external savior until you turn within and realize, that it's in you. It's everything you need is right here in you, and you have to do the work.
Yep, exactly. So going back to that word nafal, the fall is that we fell from a spiritual path that would give us a language, a mouth that would speak revelation, that would teach us how to be a shepherd, one that has a rod of authority over ourselves.
Yep.
That's what that word means. So you take the letters, you take a look at the meanings of the letters, and then you look at the definition of the word. So what is the fall? Walking away from the spiritual path that brings the illumination necessary to enter into oneness unity so that you are your own leader over yourself, not a
Mm,
follower. You are your own commander in chief over your vessel, your own
mm-hmm.
sovereign entity. So that I can look at and go, yeah, we got tripped up on that. And we got tripped up on that because when we started getting into materialism, that is so dense. Because what ends up happening? So I'm gonna just share something here with you, something that I saw back in 2008.
Yeah.
And I saw this. I lived in a community. I was in Bend, Oregon. My husband, well, Ken and I weren't married yet. We were friends, but when I was going through the 2008 and the whole crash and the banking and everything that happened in the narrative, in the story, in the world that I was at, in the world that I was in, so many people had put value on stuff and belongings, their houses and their cars and all that other stuff. And in Central Oregon, it was such a booming community, like the building industry was
Mm-hmm.
over the top, like ridiculously so, like it is kind of right now. But it was so over the top that you had people that had all this investment money. Do you know how many suicides they were having every week in Central Oregon?
Mm-mm.
3 to 5 every week in Central
Wow.
Oregon. And there were people that were doing it publicly. I don't need to go into detail about some of those things, but there was a lot that was being done publicly because people were so tied into their materialistic items that when it started going away and their bank accounts and their cars were being taken and their houses were being foreclosed upon and big buildings, building developments were being closed on and people are closing up shop, instead of going within, they decided to take their life.
Wow.
And that's what happens when we get too dense because we have fear of loss. And there's the trigger, fear. It's
Yeah.
always about fear. So when you lighten up on the materialistic side, you don't have the fear of loss because you're not putting your value in it. So that's why that noon on the fall was risen. It's like the spiritual value of that which is bringing the instruction that you need to be a sovereign over yourself. Because what happened back then, money, stuff, housing developments, trucks, cars, toys, was defining who the people were, and they couldn't handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. I went through that myself. I had to have, a brand new truck and this, that, and the third. And, I lost my home and had to file bankruptcy and everything back in like 2000 and I think it was 11 or 12. And but it was really in 2017 when I started the spiritual journey. I just realized like material things, it's nice, of course. Is it nice to have nice things? Sure. But it really doesn't matter. That's not the importance in life, is having all of this stuff. And a matter of fact, I learned that the more I could lessen what I had, the simpler I could make my life, the happier I was, the better I
Absolutely.
was.
Absolutely. And that's really, it allows you to have the breathing room, because even when if you have a big house and you have property, you've got to figure out how you're going to maintain it. It's
Mm-hmm.
expensive to have a house, and all the maintenance that's required to keep it up, it's really expensive. And then if you have finances, yes, you can provide work for people to come clean the house and do the yard work, and there's nothing wrong with that. The trouble is what happens when that stuff gets leaned out, and when you get caught off guard in that process.
Yeah, right.
Because the root of who you are will surface, and it is damn uncomfortable. It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's very uncomfortable to have to go through all of that. And it's really
Mm-hmm.
easy to shame and guilt yourself. Well, if I would have done this better, if I would have managed my money better, if I woulda, right? And you go
Mm-hmm.
through all of this emotional turmoil until you come out on the other side and went, guess it wasn't really that bad. My life is still going on, and now I am not encumbered like I was.
Mm-hmm.
Because your focus changes. That was such a huge pivotal moment for my husband. Huge, huge.
Yeah.
It shifted him completely, because he's like, I don't want to build up something that is going to fall,
Yeah.
because you will find out what is sustainable and what is not by what you are putting your time and energy to, that will remain when the fire hits.
Right. Yep. And
And
that
that'll
all that
take many forms.
yeah. And all that stuff can really hinder. I mean, honestly, if you look at it, it really does hinder the process of doing the inner work, because you have all these external distractions and things. And that was really hard for me, going through what I went through, being a former alcoholic and drug addict and everything. And when all that stuff was stripped, my material possessions and everything, well, I was just left with me.
Yeah.
And then like I really could see like how much all that was distracting from the ugliness, from the pain, from the shadow, from the part that really needed healing and needed the work.
Yeah.
um and unfortunately, this ain't fear. I'm not fear porn or doom and gloom or whatever, but there are going to be some transformational things that happen on this earth, and in the coming years, or whoever knows. But when people are faced with possibly maybe no work, or get poked, or not being able to get a check, not being able to pay their bills, or whatever, faced with some hard decisions, that's when you'll see what you I guess what you're really made of. What's really in you is gonna come out.
Well, and then there's another side of it as well, because that's still a narrative.
That's right.
We can rise above it. I mean, I have to remind myself many times, because it's easy for me to get into that, get pulled back into the matrix.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy for me to go there, because one of my most difficult things that I wrestle with is financial issues. I've been open and honest about that, and it still is like the root of the thorn in my side that I'm still dealing with. And
Mm-hmm.
Ken and I have experienced supernatural things that were manifested that we've never gone without. Yeah, there's been some, tight things, but we've never gone without. The
Mm-hmm.
roof that was over our head might look a little different, and the food may have looked a little different. The environment may have looked a little different, but we were never in the place where we were so poor and destitute that those things weren't met.
Yeah.
Because I believe in being able to manifest those things. I believe that we can create our narratives, because it is a matrix that we create. It's, if you don't have the skill to know how to narrate and change things in your life, then you get stuck into the narratives, and you get pulled into the matrix, and you get tossed to and fro. which is the waters of chaos, which is the letter mem. So we either rise above it and realize, I mean, what is most important? The only thing that thrashes around in that survival mode is attached to our ego, because we're eternal beings.
Yep. Yeah. That's why it doesn't matter for me. You know, I'm not saying it used to bother me, but it really does. I don't care. And that's not cold hearted, but I don't care if hard times come, if this thing plays out, if this one plays out, whatever. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I'm keeping my peace in here, and I've seen the supernatural provision of the Creator, and
Yes,
I'll know I'll be provided for. And if I'm not meant to be in the flesh any longer, guess what? I won't be. And if I am, I will be. So I just all that is a lot of stuff that can really get our minds wrapped up into the game and not seeing the whole big picture. You know, like I'm already immortal. I am an eternal, immortal being. This flesh is not the entirety of my existence. So, you know, like whatever, would I love a higher narrative to take place and people not pain and suffering and everything? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love that for it to happen. And I'm just at a place, me myself, right now where I'm not trying to determine the lesser is going to happen, the higher is going to happen. I'm just listening to the Spirit, and as the Spirit speaks to me now in my present day, what is it saying to me? And I'm focused on doing my shadow work and working
yeah,
with you and Ken, and being a light into the world. Not necessarily I got to convert to my viewpoint or whatever. I don't even watch. I have people that send me fear porn and asteroids and blah 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 coming in. I don't even pay attention to that anymore. Don't even watch it. I mean, you can send it to me, and I'm going to see that you sent it, and I'm never going to watch it because I was in that for 7 years, and
yeah,
I'm not playing that game anymore. I'm just not doing it.
totally agree. It's so much energy that could be spent elsewhere.
That's right.
And I know that we're getting rid of all of this stuff that is coming through us. You know, as we do our shadow work, we're allowing all of this stuff that we've been carrying around to just flow through. And yeah, it's going to manifest externally, but I don't have to participate with it.
No.
I have been
No.
participating with it. We all have been participating with it.
That's right.
You know, so taking our power back is putting it where it's most needed, right here,
Mm-hmm.
not projecting it outward. And so that's
That's
why,
right.
even talking about this word, the fall, if we keep propagating that message, then that's the narrative that we're hanging on to when the language is telling us a completely different story, letter by letter. You know, I was even looking into the first occurrence of the word the fall, because really, all of these lesser narratives, like you were saying, if people send us things, the fear porn and all of that kind of stuff, that is keeping us in a lower density. So that could
Yep.
be considered that, right? Because we're
Mm-hmm.
not moving up and out of it. It's like, oh, the sky is falling, Chicken Little.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But some people may want to experience that, and that's fine.
That's right.
There is no right or wrong in that. It's like, if that's what you want to experience, then live it out to the fullest.
That's right. You will experience what you want to experience.
Exactly. And that's why I just don't even get busy in judging anybody anymore. You know, when people ask, should I be doing this or should I not be doing this? I'm always going to point it back and say, well, what should you be doing? Why are you asking me?
That's right.
It's your walk. I'm going to love you
Mm-hmm.
right where you're at. So if you choose to go down that road, then just walk it out fully.
Yeah. Carrie, can I ask real quick if you
Yeah.
want to talk about the anything else on the fall real quick? If everyone would allow me to take a quick bathroom break.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm so sorry.
I'd rather you be comfortable, Brandon, than sitting there squirming. So the one thing I did want to say and talk about the very first occurrence of this word, the fall. Again, I'm not attaching to the biblical stories. We're not doing story time here. What we are doing is we're taking a look at what the letters are sharing with us. And so when we look at the first occurrence of this is actually It's very interesting. It's in First Genesis 2:21. And here is what it reads in the story. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh thereof. This, in fact, I think I can pull this up to show you guys this, because you might find it interesting. Let me just go and pull up Genesis 2:1 so you can take a look. No, I'm not going to go letter by letter, verse by verse. We're not doing that today. So just rest assured that I'm not going to take you through that scenario. I'm going to try to do less and less of that, because I find it's a hindrance, me sharing my manna, and I need to focus on teaching you how to dig up your own for yourself. So when I take a look at this, and caused to fall, Yahweh God a deep sleep. Interesting, huh? Mechanical translation. Upon Adam, and he slept. Now, when we take a look at that, the noon isn't even there. The noon is not even there. It's been totally removed. So when we take a look at, so just to share with you, Brandon, I was showing how the very first occurrence of this word, to fall, nafal, look at how it reads in the mechanical translation. And caused to fall, Yahuwah, God, a deep sleep upon Adam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, when we talk about Adam, just sharing this with people, I'm not even sharing the screen with you. I'm reading it to you mechanical, but I'll pop up the screen so you can see it, because I know I can pull this one out. So when we take a look at this, the very first word, the noon isn't even in there. Here's our nafal, and the noon is removed. So when there is no noon, it has nothing to do with the flesh. It has nothing to do with perpetuity. It has nothing to do with you passing on anything to your children. It is specifically dealing with you as a non-flesh issue. And
Wow.
yeah, and that's the first time it's used. And so when you look, I highlighted 3 letters here. This is Yalaf. It's the same gematria. Yalaf is a word that means to instruct and teach, and it's different than the word lamed. So in gematria, every single Hebrew letter, Aramaic letter, has a number associated to with it. So every word that has the same gematria is interrelated to one another. So this would be Yalaf. This is a different form of instruction. And Yalaf, Yod Lamed Pei, is showing that which we needed, the instruction that we needed, there's power that is given through the sacred languages that are meant to instruct you. And because the lamed in the gematria is on the inside, it's to instruct your heart. That's where it's all supposed to be. So this is a reverse order of that. This is now the power that is given through the language is meant to instruct you. It's words that are being spoken to your heart here, but this is connected to the fall, that which fell. And the resolve is connect to mother. Be humble, be teachable. Pick up the vision that is being given to you through the languages meant to instruct you. And this is why I was sharing with you the other day about another translation of Yod He Vav He is the powerful revelation is meant for you to connect to your heart to reveal the shadow that's within.
Wow. Yeah. Yep. So we did, in other words, I guess, in my language, is before we ever even made the flesh, before the first flesh being was ever even made, we agreed and chose upon this to be put to sleep, so to speak, into spirits could experience separation and have all of these experiences in which could not and cannot exist in the spirit realm back as this whole and complete spirit being.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you even get to the word the deep sleep, Tardame,
I
it
was going to
has the
ask you
word,
what that meant.
yeah, it has the word blood right in the middle of it. Dom, Dalet Mem. So the first 2 letters, because it's read from right to left, we've got a Tav, Resh, Dalet Mem, He. Dama is a word that means in likeness of, but it also means the blood, Dam, that reveals. So, and it means to sleep or slumber, to be put in a trance. So this state that was, people were put in sleep for, or how it was, let me back up here. Adam is a word that means mankind. It doesn't mean just, again, story time. We've heard Adam and Eve. It is about life, Chava, and Adam, mankind. It's not about one man and one woman. That's what
right.
we taught in story time to our kids. We're talking about humanity here. So the deep sleep, this slumber, this state of being where you're in a trance-like state, the resolve is the covenant of mother helps to wake you up. That's why I was saying that there at the very beginning with you, there's 3 phases where we wake up. Mother wakes us up to the system of duality. Father takes you in to start the inward work. And then the center in the root of the word where your heart is and Abba, source, origin dwells, is where you just let it all go. Yeah. So to get out of the deep slumber, mother's got to wake you up through her covenant so that you can see a dual system is running. That is meant to to raise you up from being poor and destitute, because you never saw it. You were completely unaware. You were not awake to what was going on. But everything that you need, there's stuff that's in our blood that is being revealed to us through our DNA as we're being woke up. So the resolve is there, and it's upon Adam, Ein Lamed, to ascend up and out of the revealing of one blood. That we are all one blood. Wow. And so I did want to share something else. I'm not going to go into the scriptures because I don't want to burden with people with the languages if they don't know the letters, because it's just confusing. So we're just going to have a conversation here. And again, you can look it up for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Seriously, I'm not telling you anything. I'm sharing revelations from that which I see that the letters are sharing. This is my manna that I'm bringing to the table to share with you guys today. Hey, have a piece of this cake.
Yeah.
So let me get out of that because we do not need to just get out of
Hey, I'd like to comment on this because Global Witness is in here, and it brings up a really good point, because a lot of people, the people who have that staff of authority that are sent out as shepherds and everything, people tend to worship these guys,
They
man.
do.
And that's that is not what's supposed to be happening at all. And, any good shepherd will tell you, no, man, like Jesus, even in the scripture, if you read it, people tried to worship him, and he would say, dude, worship the Father in heaven, not any man.
Right. Exactly.
So it's a good point that was brought up right there.
Yeah, exactly. So when we are going back, I welcome you guys. I'm glad that you guys are here. I don't know if it's both you, Derek and Malia, but you're welcome to be here. I'm glad to have you visiting us today. Yeah. So when we take a look at what that was originally saying, that it has nothing to do with flesh at all, that it's all about a spiritual nature, that is huge, because we've made it about the flesh.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with it.
No.
Not a darn thing. So now I want to fast forward it, because so that is the first time the word the fall is used. So if we were to say something, it would be the falling of the consciousness, because we didn't take the spiritual path. That's why I brought up materialism. Because it's the spiritual path that is revealing these things. But when you remove that out completely, it's meant to say, find the spiritual path. It is highly spiritual. It has nothing to do with materialism.
That's right.
Does that make sense? So when the noon is removed, it means it's a highly spiritual issue, not pertaining to the material realm whatsoever. So what this is sharing, so the practical piece is, okay, so if I can't apply it to me, I am not going to be able to change, because change won't happen without application. So the spiritual path is what brings the resolve to our tardime, to us being asleep. Because materialism will drone you out and drone on, so you never ever wake up to even find out there's a spiritual path to be had right here.
That's right. Yep.
So in my summary, I can see it in the language that's what's talking about, but then it gets fast forwarded, and none of that is even addressed. And then we talk about the fall with Adam and Eve, right? Because she took piece of the tree of life. But that one of these days, either you and I need to have a sit down, or I need to share about what is being revealed on there. It isn't
Mm-hmm.
anything at all when you look at the letters of what the narrative that was given to us at story time. Not at all.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all.
Not at all.
Just from what I've learned from you guys. And I mean, like I said, even before I found you guys, the Holy Spirit leading me into the Greek, and I would look certain words up and be like, wait a minute, that's not at all what's being said in the
No,
English. And then when I was led to you guys, it rang true to my spirit, because I was like, okay, yeah, now we're getting down to some brass tacks on some stuff here.
exactly. Well, and again, if we don't divorce ourselves from the narratives, we're always going to make it about an external orientation instead of the inward journey for the full deliverance of that egoic nature that holds us back. And then we will never experience what wholeness is
Mm-hmm.
supposed to look like. We're never going to heal. Has
Right.
nothing to do with the outside. It's way easier to project everything on the outside. And we project because it's supposed to bounce off so we can see ourselves.
Yeah.
It's never been about the external, ever. But
No, yeah,
everything was painted for us to look externally.
yeah, it's always been within, and that's when I grabbed a hold of that, and the spirit really chimed on me. The kingdom is within. Then I was like, man, why are we externalizing everything? And then when I had my QHHT session, my guardians were like, look, it's you take things here in this world far too serious.
Oh
Like,
gosh, yeah.
it's not really as serious as it's being presented, and that wasn't the way it was shown, but that's how I'm speaking it right now. It's like we take this external world just far too serious, and it's it's really not. It's just from what I was shown, and it's hard to put into words, but it's really not as serious as we take it and think it is.
Oh yeah, not at all. Not at all. You know, so I'm looking for the verse here. I'm in Bible Hub here. Um, I want to share something with you, if I may, regarding the fall, and then we can transition into something else. Because again, I don't believe those narratives anymore. I've
Yeah.
totally detached from it because it is all fear related, and we need to move past up and out of that. That gripped my life so much for so many years that this whole coming up and out of it has been really actually pretty new for me. And it's been through the languages that I've been able to see this that has helped me to be able to have new neuroplasticity so that I can begin to think, speak, talk, act, and walk differently, right? It's a whole
Right.
package deal. And it's from a real heart change. So I'm going to say this before we go any further. If someone is looking at the sacred languages through the head and not the heart, change will never happen.
Yeah, that's a good point, man.
Now, when you first learn it, a lot of times because of our Greco-Western mindset, we're taught to go in through here. And that's okay. If that's the way that's the way you are right now, just take that information and translate it into your heart.
Hmm.
Get into that feeling mode of really grasping it and letting it change you there, because this is just going to puff you up. And that's
Hmm.
just dealing with more ego. Look, I know how to read the sacred languages. Oh, I have the code. I know what this is saying. But what is your life doing? What is the fruit producing? Are you still in
Yeah.
fear? Are you still in wounds? Are you still in separation? Are you still wanting the bad guys to be punished?
Yeah.
Are you still bringing harm to your neighbor because they're keeping a different religious system than you because maybe they're Buddhists?
Hmm. And you might
Because
have
that's
already
all this.
you might have already answered this just now with what you said, but I've heard this a lot too, and I'd like to, maybe for you to give how you see this and view this. But how can one know head or in the heart? What does that look like? The difference between I'm in my head and I'm processing now this information in my heart.
Fear or love?
Boom. That's a great
It is
answer.
so simple. It is so, so simple. And that's why I love the sacred languages. Now, it appears when you first jump in, when you first start diving into the sacred languages, it seems like it is way too overwhelming. And how do I know that? Because my husband and I walked it out. But when you
Hmm.
actually get into it, you can see the simplicity of it. And you will hear my husband and I share many times the same principles over and over again, because it doesn't matter where you dig. It's always leading you to the same place, the Mashiach Christ anointing, to manifest through you, which is healing and wholeness and oneness on the inside out, bringing all of your pieces together. So you will know when you are in the two different camps based on love or fear. The ego is all oriented on fear. It's fear of the unknown, fear, survival mode, separation mode, division mode. And if you're trying to get somebody to see your way, that's all ego, and that's all based on fear. Because if you look at somebody and they have something different than you, okay, so let's say I'm sitting and I'm having a conversation with a Buddhist.
Right.
And let's say I'm still within the Christian narrative of that indoctrination that I was raised up in. My ego is going to fear that Buddhist. Now, it will mask itself and say, I have concern for you.
Yeah.
Because you're not saved. But in actuality, it's the ego that is uncomfortable with somebody else that looks different, sounds different, talks different from what you've been indoctrinated to believe. And you are desperately trying to get your ego to feel comfortable.
That's right.
But we put a mask on that we're doing a good deed. It's all based on fear. The second, it is about love. So if I'm sitting in front of a Buddhist and we're having a conversation, I'm going to feel that in him or her.
Yeah.
Because I'm connecting at the heart level. I'm not looking at the religion. I'm not looking at the religious dogma. I'm not looking at the religious practices of what they do and how much meditation time they have and how much of their doctrine they've memorized and how many scriptures they can quote and how much of their sacred writings they can give me out of their mouth. I'm going to feel it at the heart level, and I'm going to know because of love. So anything that is not of that love, when we're with one another, because love, like getting out of duality, unconditional love is not threatened.
That's right.
By anything. Because at some point, we're not going to have the term unconditional love and conditioned love because that's still part of duality.
That's right. Yep, exactly.
It's just love. Simple as that. So hopefully that answers the question. If you can trace anything down to fear, it's ego and you're in your head.
That's right. Because in that perfect love, all fear is cast out. In that perfect love, all fear is cast out. And I know this is English narrative, but if
there's
you
still
have like
truth.
right, you can have where it says like love is patient, love is kind, love bears all things, knows all things, love suffers long, love holds no records of wrongs. You can
That's right.
replace that with God, with Creator, with our source, right? Because in John he tells us God is love. So if that's what love is and that's what love does, then I can kind of have that as really like a little mirror, so to speak, to say, am I mirroring that to the external world? If I haven't, then those are areas still within myself that I need to go. I can't perfect it out here. I need to perfect it in here, because as within, so without.
Exactly. And that's where the hard work is. It's, again, all of this is just trying to turn it inward. A good teaching shepherd is always going to point you inward. Always. And that's why I'm saying that some of these Eastern philosophies or religions, as you have it, teach at such a young age to go and connect to the heart level. Because the heart is not going to lie to you. I mean, part of that is we were indoctrinated to believe that the heart is wicked, right? Exceedingly wicked. But when you go look up that word, you will see that the heart is melancholy. And why is the heart melancholy? Because it feels separation. Because it's allowing the ego to control it instead of it controlling the ego. That's the difference with the sovereign stand and mastery, is what is ruling you. And that's why we've shared before about the difference between the hearts. And I know that I kind of got off track, but I'm not. I mean, this is all spirit flow and talking about what the fall is, right? So
that's right.
When the ego is in control of this, we have a word for heart, right? Well, the English and the Aramaic languages have different words for heart. I don't know if you knew that, but there's different words for heart. It means the same thing, but there's a different order. And there's two that I'm going to draw attention to. One is lamed bet. So just listen to the letters. Don't, and I'm going to explain it to you. The other one is Bet Lamed, and they both mean heart.
Mm.
You would never know. So in English translation, you would see the word heart, but you would have no idea which one it's talking about because the translators just put it heart.
Right.
What is interesting about it, Lamed Bet, means the heart. It means the inward man, all the emotions, all the soul. It's right here. And it also means the center of everything or the center of anything.
Wow.
That's why when I share with you guys about the languages, that anytime you see something on the inside of the word, right smack dab in the middle, that is speaking to your heart. Right here where source, origin, creator, Abba is, Aleph, Bet, Aleph, the mother and father, oneness on the inside, source, origin. It's speaking to you right here. The inner man, not the outer man, the inner man.
Yeah.
The inner individual. That's Lamed Bet. And Lamed, just short version, means authority, and Bet means inside.
Mm.
Authority on the inside is where the inner man dwells, and it's the place of the emotions. And they also see the heart as the place of the mind. And we have already seen science prove that we have neurons that are in our brain. This is heart-brain coherence work, because that's really everything that is coming from in here triggers all the chemical responses from up here. We've been told to drive the bus from up here, which is all ego fear-based, when the Eastern cultures have been taught to drive the bus from their heart.
That's right.
So that's Lamed Bet. But then there's Bet Lamed. Flip the words. Inside authority. Now, that doesn't sound like much difference, like authority on the inside or inside authority, until you know what the definition of Bet Lamed is. It's heart, but it's an anxious and fearful heart.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So ego is driving the bus. It becomes the authority on the inside, which is producing fear and anxiety, and is going to shape everything because you're listening to a voice on inside of you that is based in fear. That's why when you were asking, how do you know the difference between whether your head and your heart, or whether you're in head and heart? If you have any fear of an anxiety, now I'm pointing all the fingers back at me right now. Okay. I am pointing them all right here because I've had stuff triggered in the last week. When my heart gets in the opposite order, the Bet Lamed, I know that the ego is taken over. And it pisses me off. But I also have compassion for that, because that's all based on wounds that I had when I was a child. So then what do? We catch our hearts in the opposite order. We've been triggered. We're having fear. We're having anxiety. We take that place that's within us on the inside, that place where source, origin, creator dwells, the fractal of who we are. And we simply say, I see you. The ego doesn't need to be killed. The ego needs to be brought back home in the heart instead of having it up here.
That's right.
It needs to be loved. So the Christ anointing, the Mashiach on the inside as our inside authority, meaning flipping it, because it's now Lamed Bet, the staff of authority that has that over on the inside is coming to the Bet Lamed, the wounded ego, that child that is freaked out, that is in fear, and says, it's okay, I see you. I'm going to go ahead and take the lead right now because you're having difficulty. But know that I love you. I'm not shaming you. I'm not guilting you. I love you because I see you. Because if we can't do that within ourselves, if we can't have that Mashiach anointing within ourselves to help us on our own wounds,
you'll never do it.
What good are we?
You'll never demonstrate that on the external, if you can't show that exact same compassion within yourself. And, that's why I love Aaron Apke's the ego and doing shadow work and everything. And I love that we get to talk about this because I've seen that in such a need, especially within the church. I've talked to you many times about this. They never go into this. It's all light, light, love, light, 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 and ignore the fact that you're both. You are light, you are darkness. You have those both
Absolutely.
potentials exist. And when a situation arises, and then they're good tests in that way, but when these situations arise, we have the option that I can either act out of my darkness or act out of my light, and realizing you have those two options that you could do. But like you said, it's being that center point, man, that Christ 0 point energy, man, of knowing the two
Exactly.
outcomes.
Exactly. Because it's at that place that you are in full potential.
Hmm.
You're neither one way or the other. You're not in any distortion. And I get that I still have distortions. I haven't arrived anywhere yet. I'm
We
still
all
in
do.
my journey, okay? But at least now there's the ability to recognize those distortions because like we've
Hmm.
said, if you have too much light, that darkness is going to consume you because the light is meant to come into the darkness to
That's
heal
right.
that shadow, to bring it home, right?
Hmm.
And so it's going to constantly chase each other because here the thing is about the Mashiach, the Christ anointing, to take us out of the fallen position of our heart being in the opposite order of fear and anxiety, is that when we get to bring that shadow back home to the place of the heart,
Hmm.
then there is no longer any dark. You don't see anything as being dark.
Yeah.
Why? Because you've transmuted through spiritual alchemy that shadow into the place of unconditional love.
Hmm.
This is so life transforming. I have touched it, I have tasted it, I have seen it, and I'm still trying to maintain it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
until that whole and healing happens with my shadow and those wounds, I'm going to be pulled and dipped down all the time because that wounded child, the AKA beast ego, AKA your shadow, is screaming for attention because it's stuck.
Yeah. And I feel like, we all have that. We're all dealing with it. We're in the flesh. If you're in suit, then you have an ego that you have to deal with. We all do.
Mm-hmm.
And whether how grand or how small one is dealing with it, we're all going to have those issues. And it's it's exactly what I was telling you yesterday, when the Spirit spoke to me and was talking about gold, and you break the word down, governor and Lord, we're here to become governor and Lord over this earthen vessel that we've been given, and not letting the ego sit on the throne, but letting the Christ Spirit in us rule and reign over this kingdom that we have. And we try to go into other people's kingdoms. We try to inflict things and cause conflict within others, thinking maybe having the best intentions, right? Maybe we feel like we have the best intentions. But if we can gain rulership over our kingdom and then just be the light, just be the
Right. That's right.
example to them,
That's right.
I don't have to impose my theology or my doctrine or my viewpoints on you. I can just be the light, and they'll actually, like moths to a flame, they'll be drawn to that light and say, what is going on with you? How come you're so cool, calm, and collected in this situation? Like, blah,
Exactly.
blah, 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 blah. This is where the sheep will actually come to the shepherd.
Because the shepherd isn't moved. The
That's
shepherd's not
right.
moved. Like, yep, I see that wolf over there. So what? I know where to direct you. See that sheep pen over there? We're all going to go
Hmm.
inside right now. For the moment being, until the sheep realize that that wolf is really them.
That's right.
Oh, wait a minute. Intimidation, fear, scary. Oh, that's me. That's my shadow.
Yeah,
Again,
dude.
all that external orientation stuff is going to keep us stuck. And so I actually saw that Derek had a really good, he was talking about, he said, if the enemy also lives in us, will it
Hmm.
always try to appear to care for us and impersonate Christ? Christ, the anointing cannot be impersonated. You either have it or you don't. You're either in it or you're not.
Hmm.
The ego that separates us and keeps us in fear is the enemy on the inside.
Yeah.
That's the adversary. That is Satan. That is Satan. And that's why
Yeah.
you and I have shared before how amazing it is to see in the language. Again, it's really easy. The ego always needs to have a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
It always has to have something to project upon because it's so wounded. Because really, we know intuitively within the soul level and the heart level that love is always there, man. It is just like it. We might have closed it off. We might encapsulated it because the ego got wounded, right? And we're fearful. But that place, like when we get the shell off it, it's still there. It's always been there. It's always been there. It's whether or not you choose to get rid of the adversarial component that is closing it up because it's fear, pain, and suffering that keeps it from opening.
That's right.
It's ego controlling this, that is the adversarial component that then encrusts our heart.
Mm-hmm.
So when you move from the Hebrew to the Aramaic and see that Satan moves into Satana, and it goes from the Sheen to the Samek, you have to do some figuring out what the heck that means, right? Because Satan, if it starts with a Sheen, it's a consuming fire that is causing you to wrestle while you're in your fallen flesh nature. What is your fallen flesh nature? Your ego, your fear, your wounds. But then when it gets transformed, it then no longer has the Sheen as a consuming fire. It has a Samek. It means that you wed yourself. You didn't separate yourself anymore. You took the lower and higher self and brought them together into oneness unity, and now you have the signet ring and the wedding ring. You are now hedged in, supported, propped up, guarded, shielded with thorns that pierce. And why do the thorns pierce? To get your attention. It also means because you're standing in sovereignty, if somebody encroaches me in my sovereign stand, they're going to get pierced because they're going to run into my thorns. Because I'm not allowing that beast ego wounded self, adversarial component, Satan, run my life and keep my heart in the inverted position. Then that tet, Satana, becomes oneness unity. So Satana in the New Testament means now you are the adversarial component that has oneness unity because you are no longer playing in the duality game.
Right.
That is sovereign.
Yeah, you actually become the adversarial component to the matrix system.
Yes, because you are no longer dual on the inside.
Yeah,
you've
married the
your
higher.
chaos. Yes. So we're talking divine masculine, we're talking divine feminine. We are talking about higher self, lower self, everything coming into oneness right here. Right now. Not your past self, not future stuff that's going to happen right now. And this is the fullness of consciousness in the now moment, in the Mashiach Christ anointing that manifests as one who is healed and one who is whole, that is going to appear as an adversarial component to everybody who still chooses to participate in the dual system, and to all of the people that still are living in their wounds, that are living in the inverted position of the heart, the Bet Lamed, in fear and anxiety that can be terrorized. That's the other part of it. A heart that is in that position can be terrorized. And what do you think 2020 was all about?
Yeah. That was huge catalyst.
Huge. So again, I don't want to sound like I'm preaching and I'm getting really emotional, but I get fired up about this stuff because it literally has changed and transformed my life. And through the catalyst and the rejection that I had this morning, I was being unfairly judged, saying that I was something that I was not. And yet there wasn't the opportunity for the resolve to happen because the communication needed to be stopped. And I will see if there is open communication available for later, because I would love to seek clarity. I want to see people clearly, Brandon. And I know that's your heart as well.
It is.
But if we stay in that wounded position as the Bet Lamed, and we don't allow that spiritual path to speak forth revelatory words that instruct us, we are going to stay in an inverted position and we're never going to rise above it. And we're going to see the same old over and over again, people wounding people because wounded people wound people.
Yeah. No, that's very true. I know in my, this transformational process since 2017, I mean, on this journey, I've projected a lot of things on a lot of people, and that's just being honest, and not
Yeah.
trying to hide and being vulnerable because I don't want to paint a picture of somebody. This is a process, man, and stomping that serpent's head, man, and putting it under your heel is a process. You're gonna make mistakes and
Yeah.
all of that. And the biggest thing for me, and if for anybody watching that might not know the sacred languages but want to see something just within the English, is go to Romans chapter 8, verse 7. Go to Colossians 1:21 and learn. A mind set on the flesh is hostile towards God. Look that word hostile up, because in the Greek it means the adversary,
Yeah.
especially Satan. So
Yeah.
when that was huge, your enemy is never, I don't care what someone does to you, your enemy is never going to be what's external of you. It's always in you. The enemy is within you. Just as the Christ is there, the enemy's there too. It exists
You are one.
simultaneously within you.
Yes. And but that the thing is, I love it because it's beautiful exchange between both.
Yeah.
If we can learn and we can grow from it. I wanted to talk about the projection aspect. The thing that triggered me this morning, the reason why it so triggered me is I was just shocked because Malia was saying something too in the comment section. I totally get it. There's been some awesome conversation going on, by the way.
I've been peeking in.
It's like, oh my gosh, I just want to sit and listen to you guys. We're flapping our jaws and they're having great conversation over there. It's been really wonderful to see. But when I see about like projection issues, so the reason why I was so shocked and why it ended up triggering me is because I don't see people like that anymore. This is when you know that you're entering into the place where you've had a lot of healing and wholeness and work on you, because that which is in you, you automatically see in people. That's what's so beautiful about it. Like if you heal your wounds, you don't see those wounds on other people. You see them right where they're at and you totally embrace them where they're at.
That's right.
Right? And so when there's projection or something that comes and says, and there's like something that is then projected upon you as in not a reality of who you are, it really kind of takes you back. Like, what? It just totally, I was disconnected from it. I'm like, I don't even get that. Like that just really confused me.
Yeah.
Now, when we only give a person a chance and an opportunity and we want to have an opinion about them, and we've only seen them in operation once or twice.
Yeah.
It's all time in.
Yeah.
You and I have had multiple conversations. We've had a lot of time in with each other in a very short amount of time.
That's true.
And we've seen that some places we don't see eye to eye all the time. But there's so much room. Like, I love you where you're at. I love me where I'm at. You love me where I'm at. And we just have conversations. And really, it's coming to the table to say, well, have you thought about this perspective? Have you thought about this? Because you don't tell people, Brandon, you don't say this is it. And I don't say it's it. It's what we are sharing, right?
Yeah, it's just my journey where I'm at thus far.
That's it. That's it.
And I hope it helps. I'm not afraid to be vulnerable and to be vulnerable. And when I'm hurting or I'm struggling with something or whatever, I haven't arrived by any stretch of the imagination. I still have wounds that surface, but I'm learning how to deal with those wounds very differently than how I dealt with them 6 months ago, 3 months ago, a year ago, and I think, I think that's really key. And learning how to just honor, man. When I was down in North Carolina at Awaken the Dawn event, and I was really hesitant because it was kind of a, in my mind, churchy, event. And I just was like, I don't want that. But I was told to go. But when he sat there and said, do you really believe in oneness? That everything is one only, and everything came and exists, and it is in all. And I was like, yeah. And I'm still trying to watch my language now, even hearing that. But it said you have to stop using divisive language. You have got to stop speaking in ways that cause division in that. And And I was just like, whoa, dude, like that really hit me hard. And I haven't perfected that. I haven't perfected it at all, but it's honoring. And when the Spirit spoke to me and said, you don't know what someone come here for, because look, they've lied to us about reincarnation. And I know some people might see that as a trap system and everything like that. I have a different idea and I have a different viewpoint on that, and that's okay. But we don't know what someone come here to learn. We don't know the lessons that a person incarnated here on this planet and what they chose to come here to experience. And a lot of times we think we might be saving them from a situation when in fact we're actually robbing and hindering that person of the lesson that they came here to learn. So the Spirit just said, honor everyone where they're at on their journey. You don't have to prove your point. You don't have to convert them over. Just honor and be the light. Be it.
Absolutely. Honor is such a big thing that I think a lot of us in our journey, we've missed the boat in a lot of that. And so, you're sitting here talking and I'm thinking all the time when people talk, there's like Hebrew words and letters that just keep, because I'm in it all the time. It's just the way my mind is wired now with the neuroplasticity. But I'm hearing you say the word honor. And the word that keeps coming to mind is Shem, Sheen Mem. And people who have been in the Hebrew roots movement, or in the Messianic movement, they will call God Hashem, the name, because they don't want to infringe upon the sacred name and saying it incorrectly or taking it in vain. So they'll call God Hashem. But when you look at the letters, okay, so it's a mark of individuality, but it also brings forth the meaning of honor, authority, and character. Shem. So when we are of the name, there's a point that I'm getting here, because everything that you're saying and everything that we've been talking about is taking this, allowing this and this to connect, heart-brain coherence, so that we can be heavenly minded. Heavenly minded is from the heart. Shamayim is the Hebrew word for heavens.
Right.
The first two letters of heavens is Shem. So if you want to be heavenly minded for earthly good, you need to be of honor, authority, and character. And that has to translate how we treat one another.
Yeah.
It also means that you're going through the fire and the living water at the same time. You allow that purifying process and the cleansing process to continually happen within your life so that you can produce heavenly fruit. The waters that are above, because Shamayim, there's Mayim and there's Shamayim. There's the waters below and there's the waters above. The waters below is where all the chaos is. The waters above in the heavenly realms is where the peace is.
Yeah.
So when you become honor, authority, and character, that's what you're going to manifest. So I just want to bring that up because you had said something a couple weeks ago about that word and about authority and character and honor. And I won't let go of it because it constantly is running through my heart and my brain. Is everything that we're doing there? Is that what we're treating? Is that how we're treating others? But is that how we're treating ourselves? Do we give honor to ourselves on the inside? What is our self-talk like in here? It's actually
That's right.
Pointing fingers right back at me because I'm notorious from that. My self-talk sometimes can be pretty toxic.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
No, I've trust me. I know I've not spoken some good things to myself either in the past. And if I can, real quick, I want to address something because I absolutely agree with Derek on this. Derek had made a comment that the true gospel, the truth, will divide. And I agree with that. The true, when the truth comes to those who don't want the truth, don't even want to hear it, it will create a division. But where I'm at right now is I've just been shown, Allah, the one and only being, everybody, whether they know it or not, is a fragment of the one eternal source that we all come from. So to me, I see that there's only really two people in the world, two kinds of people. There are those that know it, and there are those that do not know it. There are those that are of their father, source quarter origin, because they've taken on the mind of Christ, and there are those that are of their father, the devil, which is the mind. It is the carnal mind. It is the ego. And I'm not saying that there's not an external entity, because we have not yet fully grasped as a collective the power of our minds, and
Oh, I
we do
think we
have the
manifest
ability.
it.
That's right. So and when you get into witchcraft and stuff like that, that's how they get you to come into an agreement with them. And then once you agree with them, you're now focused and manifesting exactly what they want you to manifest. And you're creating egregors, so to speak. So they're like, they're real, but they're not real upon higher realms of reality, upon higher densities and dimensions. They don't exist up there, even in the raw law of one material. This stuff doesn't exist. The illusions that we created all exist in the fourth density. That's passing like through the gates of hell, so to speak. You do have negatively and positively polarized beings all the way up into sixth density, but once they get sixth density, they can't ascend any higher to source until they face everything that they've done and basically switch polarities back over into the positive direction.
And why is that? Because they have to connect to their heart.
That's right, because they've totally bypassed the heart.
And because what happens is that energy is always being sucked from those who are in the positive polarity, because they can't sustain the energy. Our energy source is our heart. That's why it's so important to plug into Source Creator and to actually pierce our heart. That's like the word. This is what I want to share with you guys too, because I've shared this before, but the very first time I saw the word good in Hebrew, it made me chuckle, because I used to say all the time, it's all good. And no, not everything is all good.
Yeah.
But unless you see what the Hebrew word means, it's tet vav bet. The first letter means wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
It means wrestle. And then it has a vav, which means connect, and then a bet, which means inside. So that which is good is that which you're wrestling, so you can connect to your heart on the inside to build yourself.
Yeah, wow.
So when I say it's all good, I'm embracing the wrestle between the light and the dark, the good and the evil, that system of duality that we're bringing and neutralizing into oneness unity, taking the higher and the lower and bringing it into the present now, right here, taking the past and the future and now and bringing it right here, because it is good. We are going to wrestle until it's accomplished.
Yeah.
But
And
it's all meant to build us.
Yeah, it is. And this is what I love when you talk about like the adversarial friend, and that the adversary serves a purpose. We can't just do away with it and think, no, it's no good at all. I got to kill it, squash it, stamp it out. But without that component within you, there would be no growth at all.
That's
It's
right.
I say it many times. I'm going to say it. The sword hated the grindstone, but I bet it thanked it on the battlefield, And at the time that we're being
Exactly.
sharpened and ground down, and
Yes.
our blade being made razor sharp, it's an adversary. But when we get use, we go, oh my gosh, that is what was actually teaching me. And now you look at it as a friend, not an adversary.
And you just described the letter Zayin. It means a weapon, but it means a sword or a plow.
Oh, wow.
It's a sword or a plow that gives you the power to deal with your fallen flesh, your wounded portion of you, that which is fearful and anxious. And then the very next letter, this is so amazing. It's the sword and the plow that has shown you where you've been separated so you can find life.
Wow. Wow, that's beautiful.
So the journey is found within I know. It's found within the letters, and it'll tell you right where you're at. So if you're experiencing a sword or a plow, if there's something that's going on the inside that is piercing you, or there's something that's plowing up the fallow ground, that's really good news. Embrace it, because it means that is something that is going to show you where you haven't had life, that you've separated yourself from life so that you can embrace it and find it and be it. This is where we talk about finding Chava, because Chava, life, was pulled out of Adam.
Yeah.
And Chava is like the root of the word het. It's het vav he. That which was separated, that is meant to connect in your heart to reveal. Reveal what? Where all your wounds were, that dark shadow side of you, so you can bring it into life, so you can be part of the mother of all living. That then is manifested in the fullness of the chet, because it's kai, it's chet yod, which means life, and then tav, that means covenant. And when you get marked with a covenant, that means that you found your shadow, you embraced it, and you stopped judging it.
Yeah.
That's life. That's life abundantly, when you can take a look at your shadow and love it and embrace it so much that it no longer is your shadow.
And that's beautiful that it takes, so much in just learning. Again, I'm not even nowhere in the languages, you know what I'm saying? But just things that resonate from me listening to Carrie and having our talks that the Spirit's already shown me without knowing the languages. But so much is about the heart. And do we find it such a coincidence that it's all about the heart, and it's all about connecting back to the heart, earth? And if you take the H and move it to the front, it's heart. Like, I mean, you're
That's
here.
right.
You're here to choose your path and either be connected
That's
from the
right.
heart or say, no, I don't want to be connected to the heart. Not right now. No, I'm just going to choose the negative, which is not bad, right? The negative, everything is in service to the one infinite creator. Everything.
Exactly. And so in the New Testament, I shared this with you the other day. Araya is the word for earth in the New Testament, or at least one of the words. And right in the middle of Araya is Resh Ain, which is Ra, which means like an adversarial component, but it also means a shepherd and a friend. And it's flanked with an olive, and it ends with an olive. So the earth is the place where it's an adversarial friend that is going to show you the oneness of mother and father, so that you can become one with the earth. Araya. Because it depends on how you see in your perspective.
Yeah. Unless you just love duality that much, and you love all of this dueling and battling and good and evil and wars and famines and all. If you really love that, then I mean, sure, I guess
embrace it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, the Father's mercy and grace is He'll just let you keep on doing it until you tired and you want to come back on. But you still got to do the work.
Because then that's when you get to see the folly. You do. You do. And you see the folly in where the system of duality exhausted all of us. We may have had fun playing in that game for a while, but when you get down to the end of your rope and you go, you know what? I'm just exhausted. I am just flat out exhausted dueling. I don't want to do it anymore. That's the exact place for a miracle to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the miracle is right here.
Yeah.
Stop dueling within, and you will stop manifesting it externally.
Yeah. And I agree with that, Derek. Yeah, the earth is definitely a refinement location. It's its job. That's
Yes,
the
it
job
is.
of this school, is to test you. It is to refine you.
is.
It is to remove all the dross that is in you. And it's our bucking. I'm telling you that. I mean, I know it's been geared there, but especially in the Western culture, it's just everybody wants it now. They want it now. They don't want to go through you don't retain anything that way. It's through experiential knowledge that's how you really know something. And and it's nothing against it. Again, I mentioned it at the thing, but like ayahuasca and mushrooms and doing all this stuff, then those things of themselves, nothing wrong with them, nothing. But if you're seeking that only to gain some huge, deep spiritual awakening without actually going through the experience, then you've arrived at the location, but you have no luggage, you have no toothpaste, you have nothing to take care of yourself when you get there. What are you going to do with it then? Because you haven't gone through anything experientially to grow. You just boom plummeted into this deep experience, and like, now what do you do with it?
I know. Well, again, it's like when Ken says, he says we need to begin looking at it instead of as it, or looking as it instead of at it.
That's right.
It's a big shift. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for the experience. I totally am. I'm grateful for the system of duality. I have learned so much from my time in this incarnation, this life that I've been living. And I see the beauty in it. I see the absolute beauty in it. But that usually only happens when you come out on the other side of it. You know, sometimes we got to go through the spin cycle several times.
You damn right.
I just got this just great visual, you know, the old washboards, and then the ringers, and then the spin cycle, rinse and repeat, you know, continuing to go through it until you go, you know what? It's such a beautiful journey. I think I'm done now.
Yeah. Well, what's beautiful Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, so Christina posted something. I just loved it. I don't know if you saw it yesterday on the page, The Stand, but she did because she was asking, what does oneness look like, right? And so she was just presenting things back, and she was talking about it. And, what was I going to say? It was so cute that she said, and I was totally getting it. And I just lost the track of it because it was so beautiful. I was like, oh, I so get you, sister.
Yeah, I saw it.
It was so good. It was so honest to be able to see about that wrestle and the struggle that we're all going through because of the transparency. It was like all of a sudden it like brought forth fear in different things in her. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. We want to provoke things to prod and prick to say, hey, you guys, if we're operating in fear, you know, you got some wounds that you still need to heal.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to do it.
You have to. There's no escape from it. And it's given me such a deep appreciation and compassion and just understanding, you know, for other people that are going along the process. Because I think I've seen a lot of people, mainly kind of still within the church sect, not outside the church, but, you know, they get to some kind of level and they like hoard it over and like they're better and higher than everyone else and they lose that humility.
Right.
But for me, it's on my journey, and as I've been growing and experiencing and going through things and going within myself, you know, there's been tons of times on my journey, man, that I have completely demonized people. I've completely bashed people, put them down, and from limited perspective and not understanding, but then coming into the realization that really that was all my own hurts. It was my own things that was within me, and I didn't want to turn and face it. I didn't want to see that ugliness that was inside of me, and it hurt because, and it's so easy. And I've talked to you about it yesterday. It's so easy for people, especially coming out of any kind of abusive situations, drug abuse, alcoholism, anything. And the spirit showed me this, and that's what I did. Coming out of alcoholism, drug abuse, and everything, I plummeted myself deep into spirituality. But that spirituality took the place of drugs and alcohol and all of that stuff. And like I've just had to step back from a minute and go, whoa, dude. Like I was using that as my fix instead of, and it wasn't fixing anything. I was really just hurting, you know, not everybody, but I was hurting some people along the way because they were revealing things in me that I didn't want to see. And so it's given me just a deep appreciation for those that are on the journey and
absolutely
might lash ugly or not understand. And now I can meet them with compassion and mercy and tenderness and grace and just know like it's okay, man. They're on their journey and I'm just revealing something to them they don't like about themselves.
Exactly. We will know that we have made the journey in healing and wholeness, like what Ken talks about, the full circumnavigation of the compass, when we can be in front of someone and they're projecting all of that on us, what you just shared, and it does not move us.
Yeah.
Truly. Until then, if we get moved in any shape or form, pointing all the fingers back at me, that means we still have work to do.
Mm-hmm. And that's okay.
Yeah, totally fine with that. Because just like you and I both embrace when we have our shadow encounters. We're not trying to reject it anymore because we see the purpose in it.
That's right.
I know you and I want to be the adversarial component as a positive source of that oneness unity is healing the wholeness, the Mashiach while we are here.
Mm-hmm.
to be able to demonstrate it. It's like what I've shared before. Don't follow the guru, be the message. Become the message.
That's right.
Because that's the best thing that we can do to honor what I see being presented in the sacred languages about the work that Yeshua did when he was here. Become it.
Exactly. I think I'm
Don't talk
degrading
about
and
it.
putting on G. That's right. I'm not. We're not degrading Yeshua and his work. You know, we're way anything what he wanted us to do. You know, how can we ever do greater things than he did if you're not at least willing and at a point where you can speak what he spoke and do what he did and claim the things that he claimed? You'll never do greater ever. The greatest honor that we can do for what Yeshua came to do and his message and his teachings and what he came to deliver is actually can become it. Be it.
Absolutely. And you know what I see the greater works? All of us becoming whole and healed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
That'd
see
be
this the
beautiful.
external manifestation anymore. I don't see it that I need to be walking on water or I need to be healing the dead or raising the dead. Yes, external manifestations like that are wonderful. We have the ability. I mean, I was thinking about healing that I manifested in my own body. That power is there. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about the transformed life of having healing and wholeness within you. No longer
Mm-hmm.
dual on the inside. That is the greater work.
Yeah, yeah. And I found this so interesting, Carrie, and it ties into what we're talking about. But as I was going through the Aquarian Gospel, man, you know, Jesus goes down into Egypt and he's initiated into the Brotherhood, right? And it was
Yeah.
seven different initiations, right? Well, the Bible talks about the 7 candlesticks, 7 churches, 7 seals, all that, and then we have 7 main chakra systems. So like the Spirit's just showing me in there. I'm not saying that in Jesus's teachings and going through that initiation that wasn't something real, but spiritual internal location was going down through our 7 energy centers, being tested in those ways, overcoming those, unlocking those 7 energy centers within us, now being given our crown and being Christed. And I was like,
Exactly.
whoa.
Well, and that's why it's connected to the menorah, right? The 7 candle, the 7 stands or the 7 arms of the menorah,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it is the 7 chakras and it's menorah. It's while you're in the waters of chaos, become the light that reveals the light.
That's right.
That's what menorah is. And it's
Mm-hmm.
alefresh. It's oneness where you connect in your heart and you raise yourself up out of being poor and destitute. Because the poor and destitute place is our wounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's that reversed order of the heart. Instead of the leb, it's the bell. But here,
Mm-hmm.
this was something else I wanted to add to you, and then we should probably go to. I mean, I could talk to you probably for another 4 hours. You and I start getting on this, but it's getting hot. My husband's been patient too because we're going up to the other house that we're house sitting at because it's got really good air conditioning.
There you go.
It's been miserable here at 100 degrees, and it's just been awful. But I just want to say this. The other thing about the Bet Lamed, that word is also shortened for husband, by the way. So one who has inside authority will come and help you who has the fearful and anxious heart to help you flip your polarity so that you have the authority over yourself.
No, that's beautiful.
That's so that we can activate the chakras. That is so that we can become that lampstand, so that we can have our light activated, our aura, because it's all connected to the Merkaba. It has to do with our light body. It has to do with the crowning, like you just talked about. The light that emanates, that we are light beings. We are energetic beings having experience in our flesh suit.
That's right. And we get so lost in that in the flesh. That's why for me it was so key, you know, a mind set on the flesh. And when I dissected that, a thought set on the external is Satan. It is my adversary. I'm not this flesh. I'm in the flesh, just like I'm in my 2005 Nissan Xterra. I can operate the controls. I can do the blinkers. I can do the radio. I get to control that vehicle, but I'm not the vehicle. I'm just in the vehicle for the journey.
Yep. The hardest thing for us to be able to really understand is that we are not this flesh suit.
Mm-hmm.
We are not this flesh suit. We are so
Yeah,
much more.
man. Exactly.
And
I
so
agree.
I love having these conversations with you, Brandon, because it just kind of opens things up, and I like it being where it's spirit oriented. And I'm really hoping that we brought some clarity today to what
Yeah, yeah.
the
The
fall,
fall.
I mean, we could dig a lot deeper to see, what happened with the serpent, the Nakash, because again, it's not what it's been presented to be, and what happened with the tree of life and the tree of good and evil, and see all of
I
that manifestation, because there's some really amazing treasure there.
I think
Amazing.
I think we should, because I think this is very important foundational work before we get into, because like I told you, I would really like to spend some time, because of the such confusion that has been brought to us by Roman thinking
I
and the
know.
westernized look on Christianity about Yeshua and his
Mhm.
purpose and all that, worshiping him as we've been taught to do and everything, which again, I'm not saying if it's wrong. If anybody wants to praise him and sing songs to him, that's not what I'm saying. But I want to
Mhm.
get deep in what the language is telling us that it was originally wrote in. But I think it would be good for us to dig a little deeper in this and talk about the serpent, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and all of that stuff. So maybe we can talk later this week, and then next week get in on that.
Yeah, absolutely. We just have to remember that the best thing for us to do, if we want to make it something that is proactive for us, right?
Hmm.
What can we do? We have to divorce ourselves from the storyline.
That's right. And that's hard. That's hard to do
It
when,
is
especially when you were
very
raised
hard.
on the storyline.
It's very hard because those indoctrinations for a lot of us happened when we were so young. Sunday
Hmm.
school, right? That's where all the stories came from. Sunday school lessons. And that was what we built our foundation upon. And we are dismantling all those things. So I constantly have
Yeah.
to remind myself, divorce yourself from the story. We're not in fable storyland anymore, because half that stuff, we can't validate it anyway.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
only right now is the only thing that matters. So again, the resolve for the fall is find the spiritual path. Find the mouth that speaks revelation, that brings to you teachings that will help lift you up from your fallen state, so that you can be part of the Hashamayim, those who have honor, authority, and character, that hold high moral standards, that are of the living water, that aren't in the waters of chaos, that aren't playing in the system of duality anymore, that are
Hmm.
rising above, that are choosing healing and wholeness on the inside, so that we can manifest it externally. I just want to just retouch on the resolve of that. That's how
Hmm.
you find your way out. And if you want the staff of authority, it's only meant for you anyway. It's not to have the staff of authority over people. That's a
That's
total
right.
wrong mindset. It's you as a sovereign being standing as the authority, as the head over your body.
That's right. That's right.
You become the staff over yourself,
Yeah.
sovereign being.
Yeah. And I want to
So,
tell people too, in case they hear me, speak the English narrative, the reason why I'll still use that language sometimes, even though I'm studying with Ken and Carrie on this, is because I know I'm a bridge builder. I know I'm
yes,
a person that stands
yes,
in the gap between what's being really said in the story, in the original languages, and this is me, learning Native American culture and other cultures that I've studied around the world, is so I can find the common denominator and bridge gaps with those that I can see to say, okay, let's see what's really going on, So that's why I'll
absolutely.
use some of the English narratives at times. It's not that we're in conflict with
Yep.
each other. It's
Nope.
just,
We need bridge builders. We need lots and lots of bridge builders, because what we're trying to do is build a bridge to connect to each other's heart.
that's right.
And it's going to take
That's
many
right.
to do it. It's going to take many to do it.
That's right.
So
It's going to take a lot of us to do it. But it's coming together and it's so beautiful. I
I
mean,
know it
there's a
is.
lot of things happening right now. I
Yep.
know that they've got most people with news and everything like that pumped full of fear, worrying about the jab and the
I know.
iris that's going on.
I
But
know.
the best thing you can do, honestly, I think most of these people know that are watching, but anyone that don't, the best thing you can do is turn that crap off, man. Don't even
Exactly.
listen to it, dude. Don't even. There's a lot of beautiful things going on this
Yes,
planet
there
right
is.
now.
Yeah, we don't need the fear porn. The only thing else I wanted to say, for the people that are still on here, is that it looks like we've solidified our dates for the Crestone gathering.
Yeah.
So it looks like, from the way that Ken and I are looking at it, is arriving in Crestone at October 8th and then leaving on the morning of the 9th. So it would actually be the first through, so 8 nights technically, leaving on the night on the 9th day, on the 9th, and heading back. So I just wanted to share that with everybody, that we have solidified the dates. That's what we're sticking with, is the first through and then leaving on the 9th, for anybody that is interested in coming. But if you are, you need to let us know ASAP.
That's right. Yeah.
Lou Machado is working on some stuff. She asked me to be a little patient, as she's working some other things, since she lives in the area, and she wanted me to be patient on it. Is trying to figure out lodging for people and the different avenues, and people have really stepped up the plate. So if you're interested in that, look for the Crestone Gathering on Facebook. Information is there. It's a loose gathering. Okay. It's not a conference.
No,
It's
no.
not a conference. It's meeting together at the heart level. And we will be sharing some things about the sacred language, some stuff that that Spirit has put upon us. And it's really going to be about activating, like, how do you take this information and break it apart? And how does this apply to you with tools? So you know that it's just not puffed up head knowledge. How do I apply this to my heart?
Right.
And that's really, and more. We're going to be talking about bridge building. That's going to be part of it. We're also going to enjoy the area, and we're just going to get to be in each other's space.
That's right. Very informal.
So, very. No stress. No stress.
That's right.
Anyway, if you have anything else to go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, for anybody that's interested, they can private message either you or me on Facebook, and we'll make sure to add you to the group.
Yes.
And just let us know, really, like, as soon as you possibly can, like as soon as possible, because we'd really like to solidify it. I said by the end of this month, but we can go a week or two over into August, and but we would like to know exactly who's coming. So
absolutely. And Claire, by the way, it's Crestone, Arizona.
No, Crestone, Colorado.
Oh, sorry, Crestone, Colorado. Crestone, Colorado. I don't know. I've got Arizona on my brain. Well, because that's kind of part of the journey anyway. But that's where it's going to be. All the information that we have, we're posting it as we can, as soon as it's updated. It gets it right away, and you can see all the details of what we're talking about on that Facebook page, the Crestone Gathering. Right. So I'm good. I'm getting hot. I know my husband is too. It's Lordy, we need some rain. We need some rain bad. So lots of places to.
We're going to be getting some this week. Good. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten anything but a little bit of watermelon this morning, so I'm ready to get something in my belly.
Yeah, I had a green drink with my kale and some protein powder and some extra green stuff added to it. So I'm starving Marvin too. So let's go get her done. Thank you guys for joining and hanging in as long as you did with us today. And like I said, there's no Zoom meeting after this, so have a good rest of your day. May there be lots of light and love entering into your life, and let's continue working on our shadows and integrating them and bringing it into wholeness and healing, so that we can manifest the Mashiach for the rest of the world to see. We need to be the light.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank everybody too that was in the chat today.
Absolutely.
Love you guys. Value your words and your participation. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for being here. Shalom, shalom, and namaste.
Yep, namaste, guys.